Welcome to FinTech Confidential, bringing you the people, tech, and companies that change how you pay and get paid. Today, we're excited to welcome Timothy Lee. He is the CEO of LendAPI.
I think international payments, to me, is like the last frontier. Certainly, there's a lot of folks using blockchain, using crypto technology to deliver payments back and forth. I really wish I could send $1, 20 cents, whatever it might be, to anybody in the world without a whole lot of friction. I understand AML. I understand fraud. I understand, people do bad stuff. But I really wish, all of the countries will get together somehow, create a better protocol right on top of blockchain and really evolve. Please build products and not features. It's not a backable company. And somebody's going to come out, some existing products come out with a feature and your startup is gone. So the first thing we did was literally launch Trace.com, and the only thing you could do is log in and see your balance. That was it. And we were kind of skittish about, do we want to expose all of this stuff? So we implemented a ton of fraud detection tools, all the way down to keystroke biometrics. A lot of founders are afraid to talk to their customers. One, because they don't want that one conversation to destroy their fantasy. They drum this up. They already told their uncle and mom, hey, it's what I'm going to build. They may have written the $5,000 check to quit school, but when they really get into it, all they've done is a couple of Google searches and saw Tedd Space and Colton Space and listen to a couple of podcast episodes. Oh yeah, that's a problem because I heard a talk about it. But there is nothing deeper than that.
Here's a quick message from the Accrued series sponsor. As default rates continue to rise and margins compress in lending, financial organizations are searching for solutions to combine that operational efficiency with innovation. Look no further, as LoanPro allows lenders to enhance their origination, servicing, collections, and payments using the foundation of a modern lending core. Check out loanpro.io to learn more about how over 600 financial organizations have modernized their tech stack with LoanPro. Welcome to Accrued, the FinTech Confidential series presented by LoanPro. In this series, we're deconstructing the complexities of lending and exploring compliance, optimization, modernization, and personalization through insightful conversations with the industry's best. I'm Tedd Huff here with my co-host Colton Pond. We'll guide you through the intricate lending world. Whether you're deep into lend tech or just intrigued by how the technology is reshaping lending, you're in the right place. Now let's dive into another episode of Accrued. Colton, welcome back, man. I just saw you at Finovate there in New York City. And man, I saw you join the episode with your Finovate t-shirt, man.
It's Finovate week. I had to support. So one, I had the best designer that I've ever worked with, Annie Lim. Shout out to Annie on my team. She's amazing. And I said, Annie, I want you to design LoanPro shirts for Finovate, but not for LoanPro to highlight Finovate. And there's a little LoanPro logo right there, right? But if anyone, it's there, but enough to where I go to all these FinTech conferences. I'm a FinTech nerd, and I want a shirt every time I go to a conference that is actually cool.
Today, we're excited to welcome Timothy Lee. He is the CEO of LendAPI. He's not your typical career tech CEO. He's actually a serial entrepreneur who's been shaking up FinTech for years. And his journey started deep in the trenches of the big tech and banking, working on critical software for giants like Intel and JP Morgan. But Tim wasn't content with just being a cog in the machine. He wanted to build that machine himself. So what does he do? He jumps headfirst into the startup world, co-founding not one, not two, but yes, 6 companies. We're talking about LendAPI, Magic, Alchemy, Max Decisions, Fluid Credit, and Kuber. Each of these have tackled completely different pieces of the financial puzzle, from lending to credit decisions. But today, we're going to be focusing in on his latest creation, his latest brainchild, LendAPI. Now, a lot of you think about when you open up a new account, whether it's at a bank or doing a loan online, it can feel like you're stuck in a time warp transporting you all the way back to the 80s and 90s. So Timothy and the team over there decided they were going to make this quick, smooth digital onboarding process that allows these institutions to turn this on in minutes, not days, not weeks, not even months. So LendAPI is kind of like a Swiss Army knife for the modern banking world, with tools for everything from product design to pricing, all in one really neat package, helping financial institutions scale up, make better decisions, and stay on top of compliance, all while giving customers a better personalized experience. So folks, let's get ready to dive in deep into the world of fintech with one of its most dynamic players. Timothy is here to share his insights, his experiences, and maybe just a little bit of a glimpse into the future of banking. I did bring my crystal ball today.
So, yeah, let's go with the magic ball. I love it.
Oh my gosh. Well, Colton, today we're lucky enough to have Timothy Lee, the CEO of LendAPI, joining us today. I would love to get your perspective on, what it is that got you so excited about having him on the show, and what was the reason for it, man?
Cool. Timothy, stoked to have you here. When we thought about bringing folks on the show, one, I love that Tedd said 6. I looked through your LinkedIn and I couldn't tell 6 because there's so many co-founded, advisor, did this cool thing, built built Chase.com, really cool. Like, that's a cool stamp on your resume, right? But from my perspective, one, I met Timothy when I was at Truve, my former employee. Timothy was one of the earliest investors in Truve. And two, actually, recently joined the advisory council at Gravient, one of our customers and one of our earliest customers, been a customer of Loan Pro 7-8 years.
Well, first of all, thank you, Tedd, for having me on the show. I've been in banking for about 20 plus years. Started my career working at JP Morgan Chase, building out Chase.com. That's how old I am, Chase app. Worked on a lot of just internal retail banking technology, from risk management all the way to customer onboarding, fraud detection, all of that. And really had a first real look at all the banking technology and sort of try to glue them together. And I found myself building the same technology over and over and over and over again, and made a decision to say, you know what, let me build it once, lease it back to you guys, whatever that is, and everyone would be happier. So been doing this ever since. And my latest creation is LendAPI, and can't wait to share more about it in this episode.
With your experience and your background, Timothy, like when I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, oh my God, this gentleman has seen the early days of online, that digital transformation, as everybody loves to call it, right? You got to be part of that very beginning piece of it. What, from your experience, and I would love to get your perspective, like, what are the major challenges you're seeing inside of fintech today? I mean, obviously you're tackling some of them with LendAPI, but kind of go a little bit broader and help us understand what the grand scheme of things, what challenges you're seeing.
Fintech really evolved over the past, I want to say 20 plus years. And there's a lot of people watching this, or a lot of people has been on this podcast, has been around for way longer than I have. So we got to pay homage to those folks. So my journey started at JP Morgan. They hired me out of Intel. We can go all the way back to building microprocessors. And that was my connection with Tedd. I used to live literally, a couple of streets down from where you live. And the reason why people will live in that part of Arizona is because you work for Intel Corporation in their Chandler, Ahwatukee plant, right? Building microprocessors. But when I arrived at Chase, Chase was had just bought Bank One, and they're thinking about how to really get into retail banking. And I think there isn't a whole lot of experience there. Of course, there's a lot of folks with Bank One, but Bank One operated in a different way than what I want to say Jamie Dimon wanted to do. So we want to move quickly into digital banking, if that's even a word, back in 20 plus years ago, in 2004 or 5, I want to say. And what do, right? So a bunch of us just set together a goal of, there's internet, there's a web browser. And if you remember, iPhone 2, maybe 3 had just come out with a decent kind of a camera on the back. And we said, well, let's let's go online. So the first thing we did was literally launch Chase.com, and the only thing you could do is log in and see your balance. That was it. And we were kind of skittish about it. Like, do we want to expose all of this stuff? So we implemented a ton of fraud detection tools, all the way down to keystroke biometrics, where you learn how to people type. Wow. So if you type your password a certain way, you're probably a real person, but if you're reading the password off the sheet, you got to do one stroke at a time. We figured all that out, and it was over-engineered and overbuilt, all for the sake of, let's not screw this up, exposing 20 million people's, checking account balances and that kind of stuff. So to answer your question, though, one of the biggest challenges in fintech and banking and all that online payments is fraud detection. Is, are you who you say you are? Is this an account takeover kind of a situation? Are you, is this identity being stolen? And if it's a true identity, where are you really? So a lot of people spend hundreds of millions of dollars, including, all the banks that we know, into fraud detection, right? That's a super binary issue for fintechs, banks, points of financing folks, and certainly these large banks that we have to figure out, are these really our customers? And by the way, 20 years ago, the concept of multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication didn't exist. Oh, great. Should we start to consider that? That never really entered our thoughts, right? But still, even with today's QR codes, MFA, all of that, fraud is still one of the biggest issues that we need to attack today. Still is.
So 6-time co-founder, all companies in fintech, right, Timothy?
Almost all of them, except for even Magic is kind of a fintech play, sort of a BNPL for high-end sneakers and high fashion items, which I think both of you guys really appreciate. So, but everything else is squared on banking fintech. That's pretty much all I know how to do now. So yes,
exactly. So obviously you're building LendAPI and you think that there's a problem within what that space looks like. But if you were to start another fintech, what are the spaces you would go tackle outside of fraud?
Oh my God. Yeah. So now, where's my co-founder? He's probably listening in. I love payments for some odd reason, right? And I think I've written about this a couple of times as well. I think international payments, to me is like the last frontier. Certainly there's a lot of folks using blockchain, using crypto technology to deliver payments back and forth. I really wish I could send $1.20, whatever it might be, to anybody in the world without a whole lot of friction. I understand AML. I understand fraud. I understand, people do bad stuff. But I really wish, all of the countries will get together somehow, create a better protocol right on top of blockchain and really evolve Swift, for example, right? It's one of the protocol has been around for hundreds of years, to really let people around the world to transact, doesn't matter where you are. So if I were to build another one, which I think I will, international payments, interplanetary payments, who knows, right? International payments. I really want to work on something like that.
So now all we got to do is just pull in Elon and then make sure that he uses Starlink.
Please.
And then now you've got intergalactic payments. I mean,
that's right.
Timothy and are co-founding this next payments company. Let's go.
Yep. Let's do it.
Well, I mean,
you heard it here.
I mean, well, yeah, it's interesting as you talk about that, the big issue that we tend to see when you look at the cross-border global payments infrastructure, all of that. There's issues with scalability. There's issues with compliance and like all of these other issues. How are you seeing those types of things play into what LendAPI is solving for?
Yeah. So, pushing on the international payments a little bit, right? So we have all these newer technology like blockchain, for example, or distributed ledger or distributed computing, if you will, right? So, and I heard this the other day, to even get to generalized AI, United States doesn't have enough power, literally energy to get us there, right? So what does that really mean? So now we're going to make friends with Canada because they have cheap and beautiful hydroelectric energy. But what it really means is that, there are technology now available for a distributed fill in the blank to really empower a global payment network. It's really, do we want to do it, right? Does the nations want to come together and really fixate on protocol that protect their citizens, protect their country, right? We got to check all the compliant boxes. So, but to go back to LendAPI, I joke with a lot of folks in Web 3.0. I said, I'm still solving 1.0 issues here. There's a lots of community banks. There's lots of retailers, if you will. We're going to get into that knows that they need to finance these products and services for their clients, but they don't have technology to do it. They may have seen bits and pieces of this stuff floating around, but it's really costly. They do need in-house skill sets to really put it together, right? And it becomes a 2-year, $2 million, 20 people kind of a thing. And they're really in the business of selling mattresses. Right? They're not in the business of finance. They're certainly not in the business of building technology to help them to get more customers through the door, to push more mattresses through their inventory system. So we are still helping these folks, right, to get onboarded into some kind of a digital journey. Banks no longer have to be constrained with a 10, 50 mile radius of their branch. They have a charter, they can go statewide or nationwide. Why can they go online? Is it cost? Is it speed? Is it complexity? We can solve it for all of those. So we're still trying to get the nodes, up and going, right, to the Skynet, right? And then we can put on some newer technology, get all the banks and, these end nodes, right, and talk to each other. So we're still trying to bring everybody on board and try to push everybody forward. That's our mission.
Hey, Tedd Huff here. Ever thought about how you could streamline your application and underwriting process? Well, let me introduce you to Under. Why keep using the outdated methods of PDFs when you can digitize them effortlessly? All you gotta do is upload the PDF, send it out for digital signature, and voila, you're set for the digital age. Are you curious how to make that happen? Head over to under.io/FTC and get started for free. It's really that simple.
As we talk about integrations, one of the aspects that I want to dig into, due to your experience at JP Morgan and experience in the industry, is how fintechs work with banks that want to, like B2B fintechs that want to sell into banks, and what the key is there and what advice you have in there. What's the key? If I'm a fintech, not solve it from a bank perspective. If I'm a fintech, what do I need to do?
The key to this, and listen up, boys and girls, is partnerships. Ultimately, we LendAPI cannot do this on our own. Bank knows it, I know it. So partnership is key, and we all need to play together, right? One of the key important partnerships that we developed day one, Colton, was knock on doors at Loan Pro and says, guys, we got to integrate to present a full solution to these banks, financial services companies, right? Let them not do any more work. There should be plug and play. We should, maybe that's a bad choice of word, commoditize this layer. So it's easy as logging to WordPress, design it out, press a button, and launch. They don't even have to think about what would it take to integrate with Plaid, Prove, whatever, right? It should just be magic or magical, right? But that takes a whole village to do. It's not LendAPI, it's Loan Pro, LendAPI, Experian, you name it, Plaid. All play together in the same well, present a full solution to banks, and they will say, you know what, great, one click, we're launched, I'll meet my market demand, as opposed to, again, 2 years of this, 20 millions of this, 20 people doing this stuff. Those days are over, right? We don't think about building a website anymore by writing HTML, CSS code. It's over, right? GoDaddy, Framer, Wix, you name it, right? It's available now.
Yep.
And this layers of technology should be that simple, should be that magical.
It's really interesting to see the approach that LendAPI has taken because it feels very much like that WYSIWYG style approach that you would get if you were to go to a Wix.com or to a Squarespace.com, and actually made me think it gave you the ability to go to a little bit more advanced version of, like, if you decide you want to use Elementor, and okay, I know I'm going like all these crazinesses into web design, right?
Nerd, yeah.
But it gives you the ability to really do it at the most basic layer. And if you want to add more, you can add more, and it doesn't have to be the WYSIWYG. You can add all the additional details in there. With that, I know it probably seems like totally common sense, but how did you identify the gaps in the market to develop the solution to meet the needs, to deliver in the days, not weeks, months?
And my response to it might sound common sense as well. Talk to your customers. Colton, you're a full believer in this. You got to talk to them. You don't talk to them. You got to listen to what they have to say. That's what we preach. That's what we practice. So when you talk about LendAPI as a platform, we do let people really nerd out on the platform. But at the same time, if you really just want to launch a plain vanilla installment loan and let Loan Pro service that out, it's literally an hour, maybe worth of work. And it's that crazy now, right? And if you don't want to do it, great. Sam and I will use a tool that we built for you, for ourselves, and probably could do it in 30 minutes. It should be that way. So we listen to our customers. Folks with sophistication, here's the other side of the platform. You can do whatever you want, right? Folks that just want that instantaneous launch so they can get to market fast. It's all there as well.
And the approach follows a lot of how we think about in our ethos at Loan Pro of composable, configurable, truly quick, fast to market, to be able to stay in line with what happens in the market, to be able to stay competitive. So on those notes and on those lines, help us understand the way you approach more as a founder on the secret sauce to staying ahead of competitive trends and capturing the opportunities before others are able to do so.
Talk to your customers. I spend my entire day, I will religiously do 13 to 15 calls a day. And they are all sales calls. If they're not sales calls, I'll make it into a sales call, right? And you have to practice, which what I learned, conscious listening. I'm not gonna talk to you. I'm gonna listen to you. And there's concepts of mirroring, labeling. We can look it up what that really means, to really listen to what they have to say. And I uncover lots of pain points that they haven't experienced for about past 2 years, 5 years, 7 years. That is my crystal ball. Whatever they're suffering, in the past 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that's what I need to build. I don't need to look further. Like I said, I'm still solving 1.0 issues. Tim, we're trying to integrate with Plaid. I don't have the resources, right? Doesn't matter how Plaid, love you guys. They're everywhere. Doesn't matter how Plaid makes their API super useful, their platform is beautiful. There's still a little gap there, right? So, and it doesn't take a lot to fill it out. And I took a lot of the Loan Pro approach about thinking how to make it easier for folks, right? And just made it easier, right? It shouldn't be that hard. So I talked to a lot of customers. I talked to a lot of my vendors as well. I mean, they're not vendors, they're partners on my marketplace. Why is Plaid offering you product? Why is Loan Pro offering you product? So as a founder, you're the chief, listening officer, if that's even a thing. You really got to listen to what people have to say, because they spend that 30 minutes to tell you about their pain points. Let them say it. We need to play that kind of psychology role. And I uncover a lot of hidden gems. That's the secret sauce, what we're going to tell you. And our secret sauce is our listening skills.
Listening, voice of customer is always like the number one thing. But when you start looking at it, there's no shortage of great ideas, right? So there's these conversations like we probably could fill out decades worth of backlog for the engineers to build out.
Yes.
How do you prioritize the things to be done so you can solve the problems that are there and make sure the best you can to hit on the things that are going to provide the most value?
I had the fortunate, a time to work for a fairly large mortgage originator in Orange County. And I had a couple of conversations with the CEO, and he kind of knows me as, like a shiny object, kind of a chaser, kind of a person. And he put me aside one day and, and he says, Tim, I don't give a F what you want to build. Build what the money wants you to build. And that sort of lived in me since, ever since. And what that really means, and I thought about it for a second, what it really means is that who's paying the bills? Who's actually paying the bills, right? There are a ton of things that need to be solved. If I can imagine, whatever I can imagine as a problem statement or as my version of a product market fit doesn't mean anything. And going back to the earlier point, I sound like a broken record now, right? If you don't listen to your customers and solve that thing by releasing new feature, whatever it might be, it's just a hobby, not a business as a founder. And whatever they're asking, I would say probably most of the time is a non-sexy thing to do. Build what the money wants you to build. Thank you.
I love that. And I love the thread that Ted pulled on there's so many ideas out there. One of my mentors in life used to always say, do you want to know why there's not a company that's a marketplace for just buying company ideas? Because they're not valuable unless you actually execute on them, right? The value is truly in the execution.
Yeah.
And one of the things, Timothy, you've done really well throughout your 20 plus year career has been executing in a fintech startup environment and driving growth. So one of my favorite things to ask fintech founders is give us real punchy 2 to 3 key lessons on an advice you would give to anyone that was starting fintech.
I think somebody said, what innovation is rewarded, execution is worshipped. You're absolutely right. And that comes in different forms, right? It could be we release code twice a week, right? Well, that's a form of execution. But what I do, and I practice these things, right? On and off, 1 and 2s, is that I will never ask anybody on my team to do things that I don't want to do. I will always do it first. Right. And if I want to put that into practice, every time I go to work, in the morning, whatever it might be, I would think through the one thing I really despise, I really hate to do that day, and I'm going to do that day.
Support provided by Skyflow. What if you could build fast but not break privacy? What if you could ensure data privacy, governance, and compliance with just a few API calls? What if you could worry less about PCI requirements while actually improving privacy and security? How much more time would your team have to truly innovate? How much faster could you build and ship new features? How much more powerful could your app be? Skyflow is a zero-trust data privacy vault delivered as an API. Skyflow's radically simple design lets you collect, secure, and tokenize personal information like card data and payment details. And with built-in features like encrypted data analysis and sharing, anonymization, and advanced governance, your days of choosing between data security and data usability are over. Whether you're just concerned with PCI compliance or need to go further to include CCPA, GDPR, SOC 2, and beyond, Skyflow has you covered. What if you could build fast but not break privacy? With Skyflow, you can. Visit skyflowsecure.com today to learn how.
If there's a third, I would never leave anything unanswered, unsaid. I will get it done that day before the day ends. And I think there's 2 types of people in this world. There's people that has 11,000 unread emails in their Gmail inbox, and there's people that have 0. And I'm going to quiz y'all, but I'm the 0 type. Everything's got to be answered today. So a lot of you reach out, hey, I just registered on your website. I already got a bunch of material from you, But that's what I do. And it's execution.
So funny. You mentioned the inbox 0 or inbox thousands, right? And I will say that I have to thank the email gods for inventing the snooze button for my emails to bring them back later, because without that, I don't think I could get to my inbox zero. It's a lot like you. I like to try and get it out and get it done
Just
and
a
over
different
with.
way. No good
I
or
just move it. I just move it a little bit.
Yes, because you have to compartmentalize everything, right? There's these 2,000 people that I met. I will look over, sometimes I'll just look over people's laptop and see what the alread email count is, and I could probably formulate a conversation with that person. 11,000 somehow alread emails. I don't know how to live that life.
Timothy, you don't want to look at mine right now. It was just Finovate. We've had 4 days of like conference stuff. Give me a little bit of catch up and I'll get there. I promise. I'm feeling bad right now. You're inspired.
All good. I know how busy you are. Yeah, you're good.
What would be that one piece of advice that when you're talking to a fintech founder or an aspiring fintech founder, as Colton said, what would be that one piece of advice you would give them? And I'm going to challenge you to do it in one sentence.
Build products, not features.
There are so many fintech companies that are features. That's just a feature and a broader thing. That's not an actual product. That's not an actual company. It's a feature.
That's right. Let's not talk about our brethrens, but let's give an example, right? There's a lot of startups. It's one Apple iOS release from dying, and you know who they are. And that applies to our industry. It's just a button. It's just a feature. It's just a panel. It's not a product. And everybody has a difficult time discerning what's a feature, what's a product. That takes a little bit of practice, but by one sentence of an advice, please build products and not features. It's not a backable company, and somebody's going to come out, some existing products is come out with a feature, and your startup is gone.
As you say that, I think back to earlier this week. I mean, we all were at Finovate, right? And so having those demos one after another, and I had the opportunity to sit down and watch a lot of those. And it was very interesting because one would come up and then maybe a couple hours later, another one would come up. You're like, why don't those two companies just get together and deliver like an end-to-end solution
product? Yeah.
Versus like this little piece here in the middle or this little piece at the end. Like that is something that we all struggle with. And I heard the comment of, well, it's easier. This is the fun part. It's easier to get buy-in on something small than it is on something that's going to change everything. And so it's real that having that mentality is a bit scary for me to see that happening, because it sounds like the goal isn't actually to solve a problem. The goal is to raise funds. The goal is to sell this function or feature
That's right.
to another company. I really want to hear, like, especially someone with your background and investments and all the different board seats that you sit on. Like, am I imagining things, or are we headed down that path a lot lately?
Because we train our young people that way. If you look at all of these universities, all of these accelerator programs, you walk in, and one of the first things they say to you is, Tim, don't be afraid to pivot. Sounds really, warming, right? Oh yeah, sure. If this doesn't work out, I can pivot, and eventually I'll pivot into stardom. What we're really saying is, it's okay to listen to the next voice, your customer, to say, you know what, I will pay for this, but all the other stuff, I don't know. In the founder's desperation, they will say, you know what, that's my golden ticket. So let me focus on that one thing, which is a feature. Then 1,000 of these people will sign up. It's not the case. It's one voice. You got to do your research. And also, I want to take this opportunity to say to all of these, people that have these accelerators or come up with these entrepreneurship programs, yes, you want to give the theories of pivoting, if there is one, but we also need to focus on market fitness, real market fitness, product market fitness, and some conviction in these founders to say, look, man, this is the vision. I've talked to enough people that this is the vision. Just because somebody says, you know what, let me give you a first dollar. If you just focus on that, then there's $1 billion company that ain't going to happen. And we see a lot of these things happen. You've seen it Finnovate. No, it's Finnovate. They're all great. It's just that, the founder needs to have some conviction.
Yeah.
If you really fix down this product, don't build a product, don't pivot. It's a good story to tell the VCs maybe, or prospecting VCs, but you got to have a conviction. And I think our education system in that sense is failing our kids to say, do the easy stuff. Maybe I'm misinterpreting, right? You can always do the hard stuff later, but I think I want to turn that around already, start to balance.
Yeah.
And that's what we see out there now.
You do a lot of angel investments. You do a lot of personal investments. Help us understand two things. One, what you look for in fintech companies and companies you invest in. And two, advice and perspective on, I'm a founder and I need to go fundraise, what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing.
What do I look in the company? I look through the company. Who's actually the founder and the co-founder? Where I'm only investing in people. There are 1,000 problems to solve for. Can this pair of founders solve problems? And that problem is not a fantasy. It's actually a $1 billion idea. I only invest in founders that crack the code in product market fitness and can execute. We've talked about execution. There are tons of products, tons of companies you can build. Can these people pull it off? And it's hard to read, right? In a couple of different conversations, but all of us read people fairly well by now. You can tell there's passion, there's technical skill set, there's execution, and it's not just a drawn out research paper. And you can waste a lot of time making it perfect, right? Execution is, again, worship. We just got our term sheet for our seed round for my startup, literally last night. I did probably 200 calls, me doing 200 calls, got maybe 100, I will talk to you, right? Some of these are intros, and probably 50 that I actually got a chance of presenting ideas, right? Showed them a demo, go through the deck, and we finally landed on, 2 investors, and they put in to fill the seed round. So I'll give you the first minute, front row seat on what it is to take to investors and what they're looking for. Obviously, service gone. There is no free money, right? Everybody's super focused on profitability and road to profitability. This is not me saying it for the first time. You can read every single one of these VC articles, and that's what they talk about. Yep. So VCs are really combing through what is that you're trying to do. Is it a product? Is it a feature? Does anybody not pay you enough to give you $1 to use your damn thing, right? Who are your customers? And you bet they're calling every single one of my customers. They interview them. This, Tim, that's great. Whatever presentation, right? We need references to all your customers, right? VCs never have done that. They never called every single one of the customers. Not this too early, right? And they did. They wrote a memo. They don't let me see it, but they wrote memo on every single one of them, right? So they are definitely digging deeper. So what that really means, right? Those are my issues. Build real products, solve real problems, and together you got to talk to people. A lot of founders are afraid to talk to their customers. One, because they don't want that one conversation to destroy their fantasy. They drum this up. They already told their uncle and mom, hey, this is what I'm going to build. They may have written the $5,000 check to quit school, but when they really get into it, all they've done is a couple of Google searches and saw Tedd's face and Colton's face and listened to a couple of podcast episodes. Oh yeah, that's a problem because I heard him talking about it. But there is nothing deeper than that. right? And they don't want to talk to the banks. They don't want to talk to their customers. That fear needs to be exercised out of people. And in one or two conversations, they will know, one, how complex this whole industry is, and two, figure out their product market fit. It's a whole lot faster than burning somebody else's cash and their time.
I'm starting to see a theme here, Timothy, right? Like you want to talk to your customers to find out what the problems are. You want to talk to the investors to find out what it is that they're looking to accomplish through the investment. You're talking to other people in the industry to understand what they're seeing.
What they're talking to.
I start to hear this continual conversation of actively listen, actively ask the questions. And the piece that I'm just going to pull a string or a thread out of there that I kept hearing is, just because somebody doesn't like what you said doesn't mean that everything you've thought about is completely wrong. Now let's quickly shine a spotlight on a game changer in the financial world, ClearingWorks. Simplify your financial management with a one-stop solution for all your AR needs and with a single login. Are you intrigued? Visit clearingworks.com to schedule your demo today.
Listen and learn and digest. Because we live in this instantaneous kind of instant gratification kind of a society, right? If it's within 30 seconds, let's swipe up and down or left and right. That's not how you build a business, eh? So pull back, listen, breathe. It's okay. Yeah. And if you just perk up your ears, people are going to confess everything to you, and you will find a nugget. Right. That's why there's tons of startups happening today. They're still getting funding because they listen to their customers or prospects.
But you already admitted that you didn't have a crystal ball, but I will allow you to share mine. So what I want you to do is I want you to look into the future about 5, maybe 10 years. Just look really, really closely. And what I want you to do is go there and look back and say, I saw these things happening in FinTech. And what are the things that you are seeing in the future of FinTech over the next 5 years?
I'm going to give you a very realistic and maybe slightly pessimistic view of this. And I'll give you my anchor for this response is that in 5 to 7 years, maybe even 10 years, what is broken today is going to be even more broken thing. My anchor, my viewpoint is that whatever Colton and I solved for 10 years ago, it's even more broken now. There's so many different choices, so many different offerings. People are losing their mind about what is this now. Before it was just a API called the TransUnion. I run my FICO score and here's a $600 credit card. It is so complicated now. If you look at my marketplace, there's hundreds of different offerings. There are 10 Plaids, 10 TransUnions, 20 Secures. No offense to security. I love those guys.
There's a lot of Secures though.
What do I do? Right? What do we do? Right? If you're in the know, you can sort of piece it together. You kind of know who's who. But think about that guy. Think about localtire.com, Mattress King. They want to do their own financing. What do I do? So 5, 7, 6 years from now, new technology, new offering, new way of fill in the blank is going to be saturating the whole market, and we will lose our minds again. It's like, what do I do? How do I even put this together? Who do I use? Do I use 1, 3? How do I combine this all together? And what technologies do I use now to make a sound decision? And fraud is still there.
So this is,
I thought AI was supposed to solve all of that.
They're so excited. There's a kid's AirPod fell out.
That's exactly what popped it right out.
I was just going to say, Rhett, our CEO, talks about this from a bank perspective often. There is this history over time where you see, if you look at core providers, an unbundling and rebundling of the core, and unbundling and rebundling. And every time it's rebundled, it's vertically integrated in a new way, right? But it's this constant unbundle and rebundle and progress, but expectations change and the market changes. That then breaks it to where you have to rethink about it again.
Right. So to end up on a high note, if it's going to be more broken, more fragmented, more unbundled, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for all of us to build a different company in 10 years, or, the next batch of people is going to have a lot of fun with this.
I love it.
And we might be the one that's causing the problems.
As we close up, give me 3 shout outs of fintech companies that you love outside of LendAPI, that you love, 2 to 3, 4, however many that you love that are making a big impact right now.
Yeah. So I love these companies that are sort of digesting a lot of things, a lot of offerings out there, right? Plaid, MX, all these are doing a great job giving access to open banking transaction information. But there's a whole lot of companies like Pay.Dev and places like that really think about what does this pile of data really mean, right? Digest this information and really create some interesting attributes so we as lenders or affiliates of lenders can really help them make a better decision. And of course, Loan Pro does a really good job on bringing up new features and products on top of this platform that really gets ahead of the game, right? There's some new features that came out earlier this year. I'm like, well, I haven't thought about it, but our customers are demanding this. You guys are really listening to your customers. And then there's a whole sense of people that are doing a really good job, which is, helping banks that are sitting on certain older generation of bank cores. I'm not going to name names because I'm going to get hate mail again.
I'll name names.
Middle layer, like Torex, Sandbox Banking, they do a great job providing that middle layer to say, we've done all the hard work to integrate with Jack Henry's and Fiserv's of the world. Here are nice, beautiful APIs for any one of us, all of us, right, to sit on top of it to deliver more digital products, right? Don't worry about interfacing with mainframe computers or whatever it might be. We've got this, right? So they've done a beautiful job creating that sandbox, that layer, right? So for us to plug in all of our stuff on. So all of these infrastructure companies are really, really, really fun to look at and really interesting to me.
So I'm going to just take us back a little bit before we close out for the day. Is I'm already seeing the unbundling of the services happening a lot.
Right.
But the same time that we're seeing the unbundling of the services, they're also, as Colton mentioned, they're rebundling it in a way that for themselves, that makes sense for themselves. So it's this really interesting place where we have the technologies, we have the solutions, we have the great partnerships to be able to blow it apart and then bring it back together in a way that makes sense for each one of the organizations. And that partnership capability that you talked about earlier, when you have a partnership, not a vendor customer relationship, it really allows you then to really look at, and like right now I have a client that is so struggling because they were sold a product that gives them an answer. It's a yes, no answer type scenario. And they're like, well, that's really cool. I can make that yes, no decision based upon what I told you. But I want to make sure that I made the right decision when creating that yes, no. So give me all the raw data. And they're like, oh yeah, we can't do that.
Yes.
So now what they're having to do is go look for a new partner that can not only give them the yes, no answer, but can give them that additional data so that they can run their models to figure out what's going on. We've got that unbundled but bundled thing going on all at once. And that's how I see it going forward. And I think you're going to see more and more and more of those happen versus the legacy way of when we think unbundled is like, I got to go to Lexus myself. I've got to go over to Middesk myself. I've got to go all these different places myself and then figure out how to do the integration. Like that's the piece I think that you're going to have that granular data without having to have the granular direct contractual relationships. Right. And I think that's going to really help us accelerate forward as well.
Yes. It's not choices of who do I pick? It's choice of can I learn? Can I launch today? That's the
Yes.
choice you need to make.
100%.
And it takes a partnership. You can't do it by yourself.
And that wraps it up really well, Timothy, on like it's an ecosystem and partnership together to be able to drive these, especially with banks and credit unions, but even outside of banks and credit unions. I think of our customers like you're on the strategic advisory board of Bravient what the impact that they're having and things like that. And really today in this episode, number 19, Ted, is crazy. We've been on 19 of these together. But number 19, appreciate the insights you've shared, Timothy, for sure.
You got it. Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you, Ted, as well.
The piece that I love the most about this is that we didn't just talk about the technology. We barely hit on LendAPI and the details behind it. But you guys, guess what you can do? You can go to LendAPI.com, learn all about it. They've done a fantastic job of documenting how everything works. They've got great YouTube videos, the blogs. I mean, just the sheer amount of information, Timothy, that you and the team have put out there makes it really easy to understand what can be done with LendAPI. And not only that, but you've given us great advice for not only ourselves, but also for other startup founders, especially in the fintech world as well. This has been really, really good to put together a fantastic episode that, again, allows people to listen and learn to go ahead and move forward.
Love it. Thank you.
Well, folks, that does it for another episode of Accrued, a FinTech Confidential series presented to you by Loan Pro. And if you've made it this far, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like, share it out to everybody that you possibly could think of, even if they're not into FinTech. And we'll go ahead and we'll see you next time. And as always, keep moving forward. As we wrap up today's episode, I've got one last thing for you. If you're in the trenches fighting fraud and financial crime, you know it's a complex battlefield. That's where Hawk's AI tools for real-time payment screening, AML, transaction monitoring, and dynamic customer risk rating come into play. These aren't just buzzwords. They're game changers designed to make your compliance more effective and less of a headache. Imagine slashing through false positives with precision and giving your compliance strategy the edge it needs. Head on over to gethawkai.com to sign up for a demo and discover how their platform can revolutionize how you fight fraud and financial crime.
This has been a production of DD3 Media, with all rights reserved. This is provided for informational purposes only. It is not offered or intended to be used as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. We strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, but will not be responsible for any missing facts or inaccurate information. You comply and understand that you should use any of this information at your own risk. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile financial assets, so research and make your own financial decisions.